everyone, welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another indie horror spotlight. Today I have with us, he's an actor, and he's starring in a new movie that's called Crawl Space. By the way, he's also having a film festival that's coming up in October in Michigan, and he's also a fellow action figure collector. I have with us Terence Cover. Terence, welcome to the Horror Room.
Hello, thank you.
It's a pleasure, man. All right, so let's just jump into it. Let's talk a little bit about the movie that you're starring in, which is called Crawl Space. Tell us a little bit about the movie and your role.
So the film, how can I describe it without giving anything away? Essentially, there's a man who is waking up with mysterious wounds on himself, and his wife is having a hard time with trying to catch a critter in the crawl space. The two things may or may not be related. And I play the character of Mike, who is the owner of a sort of occult bookstore.
Okay, so when you read the script, when you received the script, were you like, I can do Mike? I get Mike. Mike's a little bit like me.
Well, it was a little easy because I know the writer. We've worked together on some other stuff, and he wrote the part for me. So I was kind of obligated. But yeah, reading it, I was like, yeah, I could probably pull this off. So that worked out.
Yeah.
He and I had acted in another film together called Guardia de Male 2, which is on YouTube. I don't recommend it, but it's there.
Check it out. I'm definitely going to check that out.
Absolutely.
So
it's got nudity in it.
What was that?
It's got nudity in it, so why not?
Oh, that's always the best. So when it comes to horror acting, especially in the indies, it seems like, so I mean, a little bit of time that I've been doing this channel, it seems like majority of the time what happens is you get a role and then you start networking, and certain filmmakers like to use specific actors for majority of their projects. Is that something that's about correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can trace, like, the film that I'm working on right now, I can trace the lineage of people that I know all the way back to when I first moved to Michigan and first started meeting people in the film industry. Like, it's all about indie film, just like Hollywood, is all about who you know. It's just on a smaller scale. Here in the Detroit area, we have, it feels like a thriving film community, but at the same time, it feels really small because we all kind of know each other. And if we don't know each other, we know somebody who knows somebody. So they're like, it's all connected. And that's pretty cool. So like, you can usually find gigs that way. And a lot of the gigs I find are just from people I've worked with before who are doing their next thing. And yeah, like you said, they like to work with the same people over and over because you know who's reliable and you know who's not.
And majority of people, you brought up something interesting. Most majority of people, I guess, who don't follow indie films, realize Detroit right now and Michigan right now is booming in the indie horror community. I mean, it's not even with horror, but like the urban black movies too.
Oh yeah,
still in that.
I think we've taken over Tubi.
100%, 100%,
which is great for the Detroit area. So it's cool. And then, yeah, indie horror, I mean, specifically traces its roots all the way back to, the late 70s with Sam Raimi and company. So we've got a good lineage here.
So how is Detroit and Michigan? I've been to Detroit twice, and I went years ago to see a Tigers game. And also, too, I was a huge fan of the Hardcore Pawn Show. It was a show that was on like Court TV or something. Yeah, and I was like, oh, I need to go by this pawn shop. And I went by the pawn shop, and there was no cameras. By the way, the people you see on TV are not even there on a normal day. But I remember parking, and the first thing I saw was a man running after another man with a pipe, and in a parking lot. And I was like, holy shit, this is real. Yeah. This is Detroit. Detroit is, and I live in Baltimore, but Detroit is rough.
I mean, it can be. There's certainly areas, especially if you don't know where to look. But I mean, as far as like downtown and stuff, it's all changed over since I've lived up here, I moved up here in 2005, and it's changed dramatically. It's very it's gentrified is the common word, but there's like negative connotations there. But at the same time, a lot of it is positive. But yeah, Detroit's changed a lot in the 20 years I've been up here. Generally for the better.
Yeah, because I knew that the Ann Arbor area, which is near Detroit, was the nice part of the area.
Well, the fun thing about Detroit is there's nice parts all over the place, and you can have them right next to some of the worst parts. And so it really comes down to like what street you go to. Yeah, like Baltimore. So it's fun.
Bluff.
Exactly.
Yes.
Very much so.
All right. So what? Okay. So what really got you into acting? I mean, were you always an actor? Was that something that, or did like my recent acting role? Somebody offered me an acting role that knew me and said, "Hey, you want to be in a movie?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, I would love to be in a movie."
So I kind of got started when I was in 6th grade when a friend and I made our own TV show, just with the camcorder and playing around. So that was kind of what got the bug going. And then in high school, I was in one play. I've always had stage fright here in Michigan. And, you know, when you're in film school, the easiest thing to do is just use your classmates for your actors. Because, I mean, we all have a slight interest in it. And so I did that a lot. And that's really where it was like, you know, maybe this is fun. Maybe I'll do this more regularly. And so since I already had connections through the film school, it was easy just to keep in contact with people and get gigs that way. And then for a long time, I was using acting to get gigs doing editing, because editing was what I really wanted to do. So the two kind of went together that way.
Now, do you think by being a filmmaker helps you to be a better actor and vice versa?
I would say so, yeah. I mean, you definitely have a better idea of what to expect as far as being on set, and you have a better idea of what to expect as far as like what directors and stuff are going to want, especially if you're working with people that you know because you've worked on their films either behind the scenes or in front of. Like either way, it's going to give you information and set expectations and stuff. I think you get a good advantage that way, as opposed to being like a stage actor going to film. I mean, the two types are very different. So I think it helps, yeah, for sure, to be a filmmaker.
Now, you just said something interesting that, you know, you always want to be an editor. And I have much respect for film editors, actually editors in general.
Oh, sure.
Because it's a tough job, and I feel like it's not a rewarding job. Like, back and forth. Because I mean, you're pretty much responsible for the even flow of this film. Make sure that the final product is what the filmmaker's ultimate vision is. But at the same time, I can imagine it's tough because you're also cutting out in pieces of the filmmaker's movie, or give them, constructive criticism on, hey, this doesn't flow well.
Oh yeah, it can be contentious at times. I've edited a lot of short things, and a lot of the stuff I've edited was just stuff for myself. But even that, like, it's really hard to cut stuff out. It's actually, I think it's harder to be an editor for your own stuff, at least if you want it to objectively come out great, than for somebody else. But I have done stuff for other people, and it is exactly like you described. The last thing I edited was a feature film called Feaster Sunday, and I acted in it and worked close with the director in like setting up the shoots and all that stuff. And then, like, when it came to editing, like, there was some differences of opinion on what was better to do and what wasn't. And sometimes I won because I had the ability to put it together and show it to him and say, here, see, this is how it looks. This is why it's better. And sometimes he still said, well, I kind of rather just keep it the way I had in mind. So we compromised. But, I mean, that's what filmmaking's a collaborative medium, so it's always about compromise. And if you can't do that, then you're not going to make it.
I agree. Because I mean, even like as an actor, like I've talked to other actors, and and I've actually seen myself. Like you spend all day and you're rehearsing these roles or in this script, and then you see the final product, and half of what you said is cut out, or what you did. Like,
yeah.
Or the whole thing could be cut out. You
right.
can completely cut out of a fucking movie.
Yeah, and even like in editing, like that can be a tough thing too, because especially when you were involved in the production, and so like the people and the actors and stuff, and that this is their one scene, and they really nailed this, but as far as the flow of the movie goes, it's got to go, and so like you feel terrible, and you're like, you can have it for your reel, but I'm sorry, you can't keep it in. Thankfully, it's usually the director's job to tell them that, so at least you have that buffer.
That's brutal, man. That has to
be
is.
Brutal.
That has to be brutal. I would not want that responsibility.
Yeah, it sucks. I've been on both sides of it, and neither one's fun, but
Now, I'm sure you've been a lifelong horror fan. What was the first horror film that really got you into horror? And two-part question: the one that really got you into horror, and what was the one that really scared the shit out of you?
So I'll do the second first. The first movie that really, really scared me was The Exorcist, and I actually saw it pretty late because I didn't see it till it was re-released into theaters in 2000. And like that was my first time seeing it, and I don't know if it was the atmosphere of being in a theater or if it just really is just the film itself, but yeah, I was nervous and ready to get up a couple of times during that screening, so that was the first one that really scared me, but the first one that really got me just into the genre of horror was Poltergeist. It was a movie that weirdly my parents owned on CED back when I was but a wee lad, and I watched it over and over, but like I loved that blend of like comedy and scary stuff and like just weird stuff and awesome effects and all of that. I think that was definitely a building block for what I later took interest in.
And Tobe Hooper directed that, and like when most people think of Tobe Hooper, they jump straight to Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Sure,
but Tobe Hooper has made a lot of great movies. Besides that, I mean, he even was pretty. I think he was a big part of the Creepshow anthology series.
Yeah, I mean, he had his hands in a lot of stuff, and not all of it as director. Like he had producing credits and stuff too that he was really influential on. And I think he kind of gets missed a lot of the times when naming off the greats, and that sucks. But the stuff he gave us was good.
It was.
Yeah.
All right. Now, the other thing I want to shoot in. So you're bringing a horror film festival to the Michigan area in October. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I run the Devil's Night Gallery, and this will be our 8th year. I don't know. I'm bad with math. I've been doing it for a while. So essentially the premise is I select 10 short films, 10 horror or sci-fi themed short films that kind of fit in the vein of a Rod Serling sort of projects, something with a twist to it. And for each one of those 10 films selected, a local artist is commissioned to create an original work of art based on that film. And then at the event itself, we reveal the art and then show the movie together. And the whole thing is inspired by Night Gallery, Rod Serling's 70s horror anthology TV series, where they kind of did the same thing. Rod Serling would come out and introduce the short that he's about to show while showing off this painting. And then the camera zooms into the painting and the thing starts. So I just kind of do that in real life.
That's pretty fucking awesome. I mean, that's pretty awesome. And you've been doing this for a while. I mean, and now, so if I was a filmmaker right now, I have a short film. Now, how would I submit my film?
So submissions will be open hopefully within the next month on Film Freeway. and you just look up Devil's Night Gallery on there. I should have the website turned back on. It'll be devilsnightgallery.com. And then on all the social medias under the same thing, Devil's Night Gallery.
Now, we're in regards to the artists, you using all local artists? You have them already selected, or are you open to submissions for that as well?
Typically, I select artists about a month and a half or so before the event itself. I have a stable of artists that I generally use, but I always put out a post and say, if somebody else would be interested in trying out this year to do some art, like, that's always welcome as well. It's great to have new people come along and have a different style and stuff. So yeah, that's always fun.
And this is a fun film festival because, I mean, when it comes to film festivals, especially horror film festivals recently, a lot of them get labeled scammy. They're trying to, I call them laurel farms, Yeah. And it seems like when you're a film festival, you're not trying to do that. You're trying to do something fun, something artistic, something different.
Well, with any event that I organize, the heart of it is always, is it a thing I would want to go to? And if it is, then that's how I want to create it. And so that's the way it is with Devil's Night Gallery. I want to create a show. Like, it's not just a film festival. There's art. I perform at the event. I'm the host as a Rod Serling impersonator. So I do this terrible Rod Serling impersonation while introducing everything. And we try and set an atmosphere and have it in an interesting location. Like last year, we had it at the Alley Cat Cafe, which is in the basement of a restaurant in Pontiac, Michigan, which is supposedly haunted. But it's cool because it has like a speakeasy vibe too. So like brick walls and everything. So we do stuff like that. And then, like, originally we hosted it in an art gallery, and the very first year that we did it, the power went out, like, during the day, and when I showed up to set everything up, the guy who ran it was like, we don't have any electricity, but I've got a friend coming with a generator, and we're going to make it work. And that led to, like, this super cool atmosphere, because we just lit the space with candles, basically, and ran the projector with a generator, and it made it a really cool show. So we always try and do something interesting like that. It's way better than, like you said, Laurel Farms, where if you're lucky, they actually show the movie. And then even if they do, it's maybe at a bar, maybe at, like, they rented a spot in an office park or something, something like that.
I've seen the ones where it looks like in someone's basement and it's all virtual. Like, it's like, all of that sort of stuff. Especially especially during the pandemic when everything had to go virtual. Like, I think a lot of people just kind of saw the opportunity and like, we could just do this every year, collect money, and then just tell like 4 people they won an award or something like that. But I never do awards for any of the events that I run. It's always about like the pure act of putting on art for other people, whether that be art on the canvas or art on the screen. It's all about the art, not about prizes and shit. So we try and make it fun. Now, is there, when you're selecting films to be in this festival, have you ever came across, has somebody ever sent you a submission that you're like, this is too fucking extreme for this film festival, or like, I don't know if this is going to flow?
So yeah, for Devil's Night Gallery, that happens a lot because there's a specific sort of tone that I want with it, because I really want to emulate that vibe of Rod Serling. So you don't want to go too far or too extreme, and you don't want to go too indie, too cheap, whatever you want to label it as. You kind of, there's this very like specific line that everything kind of has to come close to. So I have to be real picky. Thankfully, I only need 10 films, so it makes it a little easier. But yeah, there's been some stuff that I've gotten, I was like, oh shit. But I did used to run Trauma Dance Detroit. And
nice.
If you're familiar with Trauma, as I'm sure you are, that's a name that carries a lot of extreme connotations. So the submissions for that were real interesting. And what was fun is we could show those.
So now I'm curious. What Trauma? What is the most extreme thing that you scent that you were like, I can't show?
With Trauma Dance, there was nothing that we couldn't show.
There was nothing. Okay.
Yeah, we showed as long as it was entertaining and felt like art. We showed it. So it was pretty cool that way. I know sometimes it feels like Trauma's gone a little not PG but PG-13, at least with their public personas and like getting a Hollywood remake and stuff. But we kept it back to like Trauma's roots, and we showed anything that fit.
Love it, man. See, I would have loved that. Is that still a thing or no?
Officially, it could happen at any time, but between me and the other guy who has been in charge of it, neither one of us has any plans to do it again.
Okay.
So it got a good 6-year run.
So that sounds fun. And all right, so now you and I, we talked before the interview. You're big into collecting action figures as well as I am. So let's talk about action figures.
All right, let's get into it.
Yes. So I was showing you one of mine. I'll show everybody as well. But this is something that, like, I had as a kid, and I went to RetroCon in Philadelphia a couple years ago. And I got myself.
Wanted to go to there.
It's so much fun. You definitely have to go.
Yeah.
And I got myself a Boglin, and I've always wanted a Boglin. I didn't have one as a kid. My parents never got me one because they said these things look terrifying, which they kind of do, but they're cute. And I even got an autograph. But the creator, Tim Clark, was there. He was selling them an autograph, and like this is something that's I love this little guy.
Absolutely, and if we've got time, I got a little story about Boglins and my history.
Let's go.
So I worked on a film called Chubbies. And it came out, well, actually it never came out. So the director, Mike Hartman, and I were talking about this script idea, and he said he wanted to create an 80s style creature feature film like Gremlins or Critters or or Ghoulies, something like that. But he didn't know how he was going to create the actual creatures. And I said, I have a friend from high school who used to have these little puppets that look like little monsters. We could get those, and we could just alter them. You could make a mold and then like build on top of it, and then you'd have like a pre-made thing, and you could make a bunch of them. He was like, yeah, that's a good idea. And of course, those things that I was referencing were Boglins. So I contacted my friend from high school, and he's like, yeah, I still have those. You can have them. You can do whatever you want with them. And I gave them to the director, and the understanding was that they would be altered so that they would be an original creation, just sort of having that base. He decided not to do that, and they just repainted them, basically. I think they maybe added a little bit of hair on one. And then they filmed the movie with Boglins. So it was basically Boglins the movie without permission from anybody who owns Boglins, the property. And they made it, and they sold it to Troma. And Troma, whenever they're at conventions, they have their table with the TV, and they show trailers for all of their films. And one of the ones they showed was Chubbies. And it just happened to be a convention in New York where the folks who own the rights to Boglins were also in attendance because it was one of the bigger shows. And they came by the table, and they saw it. And like maybe 2 hours later, there was a cease and desist letter at Troma's table saying that they need to get rid of that movie and they can't show it anymore. And so Lloyd wasn't very happy, and the movie never got released. And then a few years later, I was at PowerCon in Columbus, where the creator of the Boglins was. I was like, I'm going to go tell him about this. So I did. And like I said, he's a really nice guy. He's a very patient man who did not tell me to fuck off, but his eyes did. Because he already knew about all of this, and he was not very happy to be reminded of it. But that's my story and my connection to Boglins.
Oh, that's a great story, man. That's not a great story, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So it sucks because like the movie's fun. I wish people could like officially see it and stuff. I didn't get to act in it. I just did some digital effects. But yeah, that's what happened.
So you do something interesting with action figures. So tell us a little bit about that.
I do. So at this point, it was almost 15 years ago. I was feeling down about not really getting much film work, and I was sort of like, what am I going to do with this film school background that I have if I'm not making movies? And I was looking around and I realized we had started to get a pretty good collection of action figures in the room that we have that is just action figures, because my wife was starting to collect the G.I. Joe reissues that were coming out at that time. I was like, I remember back when I was little, I once had, I tried to recreate the cover of a comic book and take a photo of it. And it came out super blurry and you can't even tell what it is. But the point is, I was trying to do action figure photography, and I was like, I wonder if I could do that now, but better. And so I got some of the figures out and started like looking at some comic covers and getting ideas for poses and setups and stuff. And I had a little point and click camera and a film school background, and combined all of those things and got into action figure photography, which is another thing that I do.
Ooh. So what's your favorite, or outside the one you felt the proudest about you've done?
Of the photos?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm really proud of this series of photos I've been doing that are sort of a... Boss Fight Studio puts out some skeleton action figures. They're like really well articulated, well sculpted skeleton action figures. I've been doing a series with those that are more emotionally expressive than the other stuff I've done before. I've done a lot of like more like portraits of figures or sort of action poses and stuff like this. But these are more conceptual, and so I'm pretty proud of how they've been turning out. I'm pretty happy with those. But the most famous photo that I've done, the thing that usually gets people's attention at conventions when I set up there, or occasionally somebody will actually recognize, is I did a series of photos with Gumby. And you know, in the old TV series, he could walk into a book and he'd enter the world of that book, whatever it was. If it was like Down on the Farm, he'd be on a farmland kind of thing. So I thought, what if he got on the wrong bookshelf? And so I've done a series, a photo series of him coming across books like Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker or 120 Days of Sodom. And then like my most famous photo is Gumby with a series of satanic books, the Satanic Bible, the Necronomicon from Evil Dead, and like things of that nature. And it's him being sacrificed on a glowing pentagram with the blockheads around him. So that one gets some attention.
Fucking loving that. I fucking loving that. I love it. All right, Terence. So you know this is a horror channel, and I do this every once in a while. I'm going to ask you 3 random horror questions.
All right.
All right. All right. What is a horror remake that you think stands up equally or is better than the original?
I mean, the big 3, obviously. The Thing, The Blob, and The Fly.
That is true.
But if I had to pick a favorite, that's tougher. I might go with The Fly just because it has that Cronenberg edge. But The Blob, I think, is the one that gets missed a lot. And I like that one a lot as well. And then, of course, The Thing's a masterpiece. So.
Are you going to Blobfest this year? Or do you even know what Blobfest is?
I do know what Blobfest is, and I've never been. I did go by that theater. I think it's called the Centennial. But I did stop by it one time on a vacation. But I've never been to Blobfest itself.
I'm going to do Blobfest this year. I was supposed to do last year, but I'm doing this year. I'm super excited. I'm super excited about it. I didn't even know it was a thing. But I just found out last year. I was like, oh shit, I got to do this, and it's only 2 hours away from me. So
yeah. Since you're out in that area, have you gone to the Mahoning Drive-In for any of the events they do up there?
I have not.
Oh, you need to check that out. Last year I vended out there. They did a Killer Clowns night.
Yes, I was supposed to go to that. I was supposed to go to that. Yes, yes.
Yeah, so they do stuff like that all the time. And I got to go to that one, and that was awesome. So they played Killer Clowns, and Ernest Scared Stupid and the Kyoto Brothers were there.
Yes.
It's a good time.
And they had one too, I think it was a couple years ago, where Lloyd Kaufman and they were doing Trauma.
Yeah. I think they have one coming up maybe next month too, with Lloyd and the gang.
Shit, all right, let me write that down. All right. I have to check that out. Put it on my schedule. All right. Second question I'm going to ask you.
All right.
Is, so you're into photography, you're into horror. What horror movie do you think has the best movie poster? What is your favorite horror movie poster of all time?
Oh.
It doesn't even have to be your favorite horror movie. It's just a poster.
There's so many good ones. There's two that have always stood out to me. One is Burial Ground, that classic art of the giant head and like the hellscape and everything. That, even as a kid, like seeing it in the video store shelves, like I was like, that's gonna be a special movie. I didn't know what kind of special. I thought it would be scary. I've learned that it's something else, but it's fun. But yeah, that box art always stood out to me. And the other, The Company of Wolves, with that wolf mouth coming out of the human face. Again, the movie is insane. It's like really unique and it's great, and I've learned to love it. But just going on the box art back then, like that looked like a scary thing. So those two have always stuck with me. I don't know if I'd call them the best, but they're definitely ones that stand out to me.
For me, and probably not the best, and it's definitely not the best movie, Shocker. Now, do you remember Wes Craven, Shocker? And I remember going to my local video store, and they had like a full display of the Shocker guy looking like, I was like, what the fuck is that? This is amazing. Like, and I remember watching that movie, and I thought that movie was so amazing when I was a kid, and I've rewatched it several times as an adult. I'm like, this is not that good. But that cover, I mean, it grabs your attention.
All of the promo material related to that movie is perfect. You know,
it is.
The poster, the box art, the soundtrack. I love that soundtrack. I listen to it a lot. But yeah, the movie itself, it's not bad. It's still Wes Craven, but it's definitely not his best.
No.
It's definitely a flawed film. But I don't know, like that first half hour is perfect, and then the rest of the film sort of falls apart. But I love it. Was definitely.
I'm gonna say, if you ask 5-year-old to about 15-year-old Travis what his top 10 horror films all time, The Shocker was definitely always in my top 5. I love that movie. And then I became an adult and watched it, and I'm like, why did I like this movie? But that's why I was talking to somebody recently. I was like, some movies that you have this fond memory, especially horror movies, you have this fond memory of, it's best not to watch them as an adult.
Right.
So sometimes it's just not best to just leave it there, like the original Friday the 13th. That movie is so flawed. It's unwatchable to me as an adult.
Yeah, that seems like it might be a controversial opinion.
It's my least favorite Friday the 13th.
I get it. It's like nothing really like any of the others, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Last one, man. All right. What film series or series of horror films do you wish they would stop making movies?
Stop making?
Put a rest. Yeah, stop making, like, you know, what like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Predator. Yeah. Like, which one do you wish they would just leave them alone and just give them a break?
Scream.
A lot of people keep saying Scream. Really? What Scream?
I don't hate any of them, and I actually enjoyed the last two. But when they started announcing they were having problems with making the next one, I was like, you know what? Maybe that's okay. Maybe we can let it go. Obviously, none have ever been like the first one, because the first one changed things. Like, it was a movie that was unique for its time, so none of them could ever be that again. And the second one, I still like a lot. I think that was a good one as well. For me, things fell apart in the third one. Fourth will always have a special place in my heart because they filmed it around here. That was one of the Michigan films. So that one's special for that reason. And then those last couple, they were entertaining, but they didn't feel like they needed to be. And so, like, to make another one just seems like just really forcing it, and I don't think they need to. It's weird because, like, Chainsaw Massacre has such a messed up timeline, and, like, you could definitely make a very strong case for never making any more of those. But I kind of get it with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, though, because, like, there's an urge, I think, within the horror film community to get another good one. Like, I think that's why they keep trying, and why every single one of them is just a sequel to the first one, because nobody's ever happy, and they want to make another one, like another attempt at that. So I get it when, like, that one, when they keep announcing more of those, and some of the other series are kind of like that too. And I'm glad for something like Nightmare on Elm Street, where they did one reboot, and they're like, oh, you know what, we're good for a while. And as far as I know, they're not working on anything. So, like, sometimes they learn, but as far as, like, ones that they really are still trying to keep going, Scream's the one for me that, like, I'm okay if they don't make any more.
A lot of people are seeing Scream. I mean, this year, starting in January, the couple of times I've asked that question, I'm shocked at, because last year everybody was saying Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Saw, and Predator, which we can debate if Predator is a horror movie or not. I think Predator is a horror film. Which, I mean, for me, it's 100% Texas Chainsaw Massacre / Halloween. Like, I'm a huge Halloween fan. I think Halloween needs a break. I really do. I think it needs a hard break for a while, because, you know, you had the H2O Resurrection, and then you fell into Rob Zombie, and then you bounced onto the Blumhouse ones. Like, it never got a break. It just, and I just feel like, you know, we need a hard break on that. But I agree. I am agreeing with you when it comes to Scream. I watched the last one. I did not like part 5. I really didn't. I didn't like part 5. And I watched the last one, and I was like, throughout that whole entire movie, I was on in the theaters. And the whole entire movie, I was like, whoa, this might be as good as the original. And I even had the Scream poster 6 up here from opening weekend. It's literally sitting way up here. And I was like, oh my goodness, this might be better than the original, or it might be its equal. And then somewhere like that last 25% of the movie, it just, I have not seen it since. I've never seen a movie go up so high and then just crash so hard. So I have not seen a movie do that ever. Like, and it was so good. I mean, this was a raw, vicious Ghostface that, you know, he didn't mind killing people in fucking public.
Yeah,
he was walking around with a fucking shotgun. Like, this was a different fucking Ghostface, and it just had a different atmosphere that, like, any other Scream movie that anybody could fucking die in this movie. Like, any character could possibly die in this movie. And then that last 25 minutes, all the people who you thought were dead are back alive. And the person that from the first 10 minutes of the movie that you expected to be a killer, they were the killer.
Yeah.
It just killed it for me. Yeah.
I mean, really, if we're all being honest, they could just stop with all of the franchises that already exist. You know, let's focus on the new stuff for a little while. That'd be nice.
Exactly.
I mean, there's been a lot of good new stuff lately. So,
I love the X series. I love the X series. That's the X series, the Ty West X series. I love that. I can't wait for Maxine. But
Pearl is one of my
is the last
all-time
one.
favorite movies now.
Pearl and X. Listen,
Yeah.
I did a whole live dissecting them. I love those movies because those movies didn't get a whole bunch of rap, when they came out. And I was one of the ones talking about X and Pearl. X and Pearl is definitely, both of them are in my top 5 favorite horror movies of all time. They're so good.
Absolutely. Yeah, stuff like that, and even stuff this year, like Late Night with the Devil was pretty cool.
Barbarian, that came out a couple
Barbarian,
years ago.
yeah.
Great.
And even like some of the cheaper stuff. There was a Killer Spider movie that came out this year. I saw it. I've already forgotten the name of it, but it was cool because it was something that was, different. It wasn't part of a franchise or anything. So like, throw more of that at me. I'm okay with that.
I agree. All right, Terence, where can everyone find you, my friend?
I'm on all the social medias as either myself, Terence Cover, or Saint Terence on Instagram, STTERENCE. Or if you're looking for my action figure photographies, I'm ActFig Photog, so ActFigPotog on all the social medias, and then also Devil's Night Gallery on everything.
Awesome. Listen, everybody, please check out Terence's work, as well as also too go to Film Freeway if you're a filmmaker and you want to submit your work to his film festival as well. And by the way, in the description, I'm going to have Terence's social media accounts and everything. So please click and support. Terence, this has been fun, man.
Thank you for having me.
It's a blast, man. Listen, you're more than welcome to come on anytime. And yes, if you get the blog post, let me know, and I'll meet you there.
Absolutely.
Yes, it sounds like it'll be a fun time. All right. Well, everyone, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and that is Terence Cover. We'll see you next time. Take care.